You know what's strange? Some of the smartest, most perceptive people you'll ever meet happen to be the most exhausted. Not because they're overworking, but because their brain just won't stop overthinking. Ever find yourself lying awake at 2 a.m., body completely drained, but your brain's still running at full throttle? Replaying conversations that ended hours ago, constantly asking yourself, what if, or even worse, mapping out worst-case scenarios that haven't even happened yet. And here's the psychological paradox at the heart of it all. The exact same cognitive habit that makes someone thoughtful, careful, and empathetic is the one quietly draining their energy. If that sounds like you, stop beating yourself up. This video is for you. You're not weak. Truth is, your brain just has a superpower that's being used the wrong way. And by the end of this video, you'll understand what's actually happening inside your brain, why this habit formed in the first place, and what it really says about who you are. In psychology, they call this maladaptive rumination. But forget that dry academic term for a second. The late Professor Susan Nolan Hoeksema from Yale, who spent her entire career studying this, found that up to 73% of adults aged 25 to 35 get stuck in this overthinking loop. And they don't do it because they're weak or incapable. They do it because their brain is just too good at pattern recognition. It's always scanning, always analyzing, always looking for hidden meaning in everything. Under fMRI brain scans, neuroscientists at Stanford pinpointed two main brain structures responsible for this whole nightmare. First, your prefrontal cortex. That's the part that handles analysis and planning. In overthinkers, this region stays lit up with energy even when you're just sprawled out on the couch trying to watch a movie. Second, your default mode network, or DMN. Think of it as your brain's background operating system. When you're supposed to be resting, your DMN flips on autoplay, drafting mental arguments with people you haven't even met yet. But here's the most dangerous trap, the aha moment nobody ever tells you about. Why do you know overthinking is exhausting, yet you just can't stop? Why is just stop thinking about it the most useless advice on the planet? Because of dopamine. That's right. Every time you sit there analyzing a scenario, what did they mean by that comment? Or, what if my boss fires me? Your brain tricked itself into thinking you're actually solving a problem, and every time it maps out a potential scenario, it hits you with a tiny dose of dopamine as a reward. You get hooked on that illusion of progress. Your mind feels like it's solving a complex math problem, but in reality, you're just running on a treadmill, expending massive amounts of energy only to end up right where you started. So, where does this toxic habit actually come from? Take a look back. It rarely starts in adulthood. For most overthinkers, they were once kids who had to grow up in unpredictable environments. Think back for a second. Did you grow up in a house where adult moods shifted like the weather, sunny one minute, storming the next without any warning? A place where a tiny mistake could set off a massive explosion? Back then, the younger version of you came up with a very logical survival strategy. Predict everything, read their facial expressions, plan for every scenario. If I can see the future coming, I'll be safe. Overthinking, seen through this lens, was never a personality flaw. It was an adaptation. It was your exceptionally smart nervous system doing everything it could to protect you from past pain. You're not broken. Your brain is just doing exact what it was trained to do. Except, you're grown up now. The threat isn't there anymore, but that alarm system in your head, it just hasn't gotten the memo yet that everything is finally safe. Psychologists actually break rumination down into two distinct types. And our job isn't to crush it, it's to channel it. First, there's reflective rumination. This is where you turn inward to understand yourself, process emotions, and learn from past experiences. This version builds your EQ and makes you deeply self-aware. Then there's brooding rumination. This is when you get trapped in a downward spiral, obsessing over questions like why me, or what if, until you hit full-on decision paralysis. The tricky part? The line between the two is razor thin. You start off just reflecting, and before you know it, you've slipped right into an anxiety spiral. But hold on, stop beating yourself up for a second. A 2013 study published in Psychological Science revealed something pretty mind-blowing. People who overthink actually score significantly higher in cognitive empathy than the average person. You're naturally attuned to the energy in a room. You catch that tiny micro-frown on a coworker's face. You carefully choose your words so you don't hurt anyone's feelings. The very same engine that's draining your energy is what makes you remarkably perceptive, thoughtful, and deeply caring. You don't lack ability. What you're missing is just the ability to hit the brakes. Now, let's zoom out from ourselves for a second. Why has overthinking exploded so wildly in this modern generation? Because we're living in a society that's drowning in information, yet starving for direction. Sociologist Barry Schwartz over at Swarthmore College came up with a famous theory called the paradox of choice. When people are handed too many options instead of feeling liberated, we get paralyzed. Every single morning you wake up, TikTok, Instagram, and your newsfeed dump thousands of success stories right into your head. You see 25-year-olds buying houses, 30-year-olds hitting financial freedom. Your brain's pattern recognition system kicks into overdrive immediately. Where am I in life? Am I on the wrong path? What happens if I fail? Never in human history have we faced this many options, and with them, this level of ambiguity and uncertainty. It's the absolute favorite food of an overthinking mind. When the world outside feels totally chaotic, your brain tries to control the world inside by thinking nonstop. But remember this, your mind simply cannot think its way out of every problem in life. Some things, you just can't think into an answer. You have to feel them, you have to act, or simply, you just have to let them go. So, how do we actually break this loop? Don't try to force the thoughts away. The harder you try not to think about a pink elephant, the clearer you're going to see it. Instead, here are 2 actionable techniques that top therapists use. Technique 1, cognitive diffusion. Imagine your negative thoughts are like a VR headset strapped right over your eyes. You see a burning house, a disaster, and you believe it's 100% real. Cognitive diffusion is taking that headset off with your hands, holding it out, and saying, "Oh, this is just a movie playing, it's not real life." How do you use this in your internal self-talk? Instead of thinking, "I'm a failure," reframe it to, "I'm having the thought that I'm a failure." Sounds simple, maybe even a little silly, right? But just by adding, "I'm having the thought that," you instantly create a buffer zone. You're no longer trapped inside that muddy, roaring river. You've stepped onto the riverbank, just watching the water flow by. Technique 2, disconnecting your DMN with your body. The reason you're overthinking is that your brain's default mode network, the DMN, is humming away in the background. You can't logic your way out of it. You have to use your body. When your mind starts spinning out of control, snap yourself back to the present moment using your senses. Name 5 things you can see right now: a coffee mug, your hand, the corner of your screen. 4 things you can touch: the cool wooden desk, the fabric of your shirt. 3 sounds around you: the fan humming, traffic outside. 2 smells. And 1 taste on your tongue. Or if you need something even faster, go splash freezing cold water on your face. Lift a heavy dumbbell. Your brain simply cannot process intense physical sensations in the present while simultaneously spinning up future scenarios. You're sending a direct biological signal to your brain. Look, our environment is completely safe. There's no wild animal chasing us. It's okay to rest now. Overthinking isn't a life sentence. It's just proof that you have an extraordinarily powerful mind that just hasn't learned how to rest yet. You don't need to fix your entire past, and you don't need to map out every single step for the next 10 years. All you need to do today is gently teach your brain one simple thing. Right now, I am safe. Take a deep breath, drop your shoulders, Put your phone down and give your mind permission to rest because you deserve that peace. Thank you for spending time with Deep Shift. If this video resonated with you, give it a like and share it with someone who might also be lying awake tonight overthinking. I'll see you in the next one.